She is one of the legendary heroes who were supposed to defeat the Dark Beast Lord, but after getting pounded by his big white horn, she ends up becoming his personal slave and now must babysit a little prince to save the world. The story begins with a young girl named Alicia, riding in a carriage to subjugate the Lord of the Dark Beasts of the West, along with the other heroes chosen by the Haiden King. In this world, all the humanoid races live in the middle of a continent called Edthea, surrounded by deep forests filled with dangerous dark beasts ruled by the 4 legendary Dark Beast Lords. To expand their horizon, the Haiden King chooses the greatest champions of the time and grants them a special red weapon called Regalia to defeat the 4 lords so they can find the true size of the world. Back in the carriage, one of the heroes named Katz comments that seeing so many regalia gathered in one place is incredibly cool. They start asking each other about their origin, but what surprises them the most is the presence of a female hero among them. They turn to Alicia and ask where she comes from, though before she can answer, Stefan interrupts by warning that they have already entered the Dark Beast's territory, and monsters could appear at any moment. Horgus does not appreciate the warning, feeling that Stefan is trying to act like their leader, but Mudo argues in return that Stefan is, in fact, the strongest among them. All of a sudden, the carriage stops as the driver warns them that the path ahead has become too rough for the horses to continue. Before the heroes can even step out, the driver is ambushed by a dark beast, forcing them all to rush out and prepare for battle. Stefan quickly takes command, arranging everyone into formation as they press forward toward the summit where one of the 4 lords awaits their destruction. The group fights with perfect coordination, cutting through waves of dark beasts with ease. One of the heroes summons a massive tornado that sweeps away countless enemies, followed by Stefan unleashing a blazing red sphere of energy that explodes through the remaining monsters. Their momentum carries them into a clash with a Hydra, but even this creature falls before their combined strength as Alicia delivers the final blow. After clearing out the dark beasts along their path, the group of heroes finally reaches the lair of the Lord, and Stefan is convinced that they will be the first to turn legend into reality. The mountain trembles as Alicia warns the others to stay alert just before the Master of Luna Mountain makes its entrance with a bolt of lightning. The Lord reveals itself as Clavatus of the Moonlight, appearing like some super buffed goat with a unicorn horn, and its overwhelming aura immediately terrifies the party. Stefan still steps forward and proudly declares that they are the 13 heroes chosen by the King of Haiden, swearing they will defeat the beast. Without a plan, everyone charges recklessly, and in the blink of an eye, Stefan is brutally slain by the overpowered goat. The bug guy Horgus rushes in next, and though Alicia desperately shouts for him to stop, it is already too late as he gets beheaded mid-air. One by one, the heroes fall, until Alicia realizes the attacks are striking from the shadows. She yells for everyone to leap away from their shadows, and her sharp insight draws the attention of mighty Clavatus. They unleash their strongest moves in desperation, but none of them even scratch him, and it quickly becomes clear that Clavatus is merely warming up, thinking that it has been 1,000 years since the last bunch of heroes tried attacking him. Soon, Alicia is the last one left standing, and while Clavatus believes humanoids should be as weak as insects, what unsettles him most is how such fragile creatures manage to crawl all the way up into his lair. He wonders what has truly changed over the 1,000 years, and why these so-called heroes have appeared before him. Alicia leaps high into the sky and strikes, managing to leave only a small damage on Clavatus's unicorn horn. Realizing that he must uncover the answers on his own, especially if these insects dare to threaten the lands he rules, the beast crushes the last of their resistance. In a single brutal strike, one of Alicia's legs is severed, sending her flying across the battlefield. As she falls in defeat, she whispers an apology to her father for failing to uncover the answer to her dream. That night, in the capital city of Hiderat, within the Haiden Kingdom, everything seems to be going as usual until Clavatus descends from the sky and throws the entire city into chaos, making people believe that some random dark wolf beast has suddenly appeared. Panic spreads quickly, and as confusion grows, the Lord of Beasts recalls that Stefan had once declared the heroes were chosen by the King of Haiden, which is exactly why Clavatus has come seeking answers. Just as the heroes once wiped out every monster they crossed paths with, Clavatus plans to do the same, and when the first squad of archers attacks, he not only deflects their arrows with ease, but wipes out all of them in return. The Dark Beast Lord then advances toward the castle, brushing aside the royal army, who cannot even slow him down. One desperate soldier rushes to the King of Haydn and reports that they are under attack by a wild dark beast, and the king immediately realizes that the heroes have failed, and even the strength of the Haydn blades is not enough. The soldier begs him to escape since the army cannot hold the monster back, but the king refuses, saying there is no point in running, and instead orders that the forge be sealed at once. Declaring that the fire of Haydn must never be extinguished, the king leaves personally to ensure the seal is completed. The royal army prepares their ballistic weapons and fires a rain of arrows, but Clevites catches them all with ease. Seeing how weak the human weapons are, Clevites realizes that it was just the weapons that had changed in all this time, and the red blades were the ones that actually managed to injure his horns, which would mean that even these insects could become a threat to him with those regalia weapons in their hands. Determined to deal with this danger before they grow any stronger, he sets his sights on the forge. As the king rushes to seal it, he tries to quickly shut the door, but Clevites easily manages to find him. The king boldly declares that the beast has no right to speak in the human tongue, yet Clevites warns him to choose his words carefully, because if he dislikes his answers, he may well decide to wipe out all of humankind. He explains that destroying this single kingdom would change nothing, as the rest of humanity shares the same nature and would only continue to intrude upon his lands. Demanding to know the true nature of mankind, he asks the king why humans desire his death. But when the king coldly replies that a beast could never understand, Clevites instantly swings his blade and severs the king's head. As he walks away, he vows to build an army strong enough to eradicate every last one of these lowly creatures. But his march is interrupted when he suddenly hears the cries of a baby. A lady beside the child pleads with the beast to save him, even though he is the feared lord of dark beasts. Clevites declares his intent to wipe out all of humankind and questions why he should save a child, telling her instead to despise the place they were born. The woman refuses to back down and argues that a child has no say in where or when it is born, insisting that no matter what adults may have done, this child is innocent. Their debate drags on until Clevites finally challenges her to prove the child's worth. She cleverly turns his words back, saying the child will prove it on his own, and for reasons even he cannot fully explain. Clevites takes the child with him despite not being convinced, expecting that it would soon prove its worth to him. A while later, in Luna Mountain, a group of dark beasts approaches to devour the little child, but their lord drives them away, and after they leave, the kid bursts into tears. Clevites grows worried that the child won't survive at this rate and sits close by, using his powers to restore its energy and puts it back to sleep, though he knows this is nothing more than delaying death, since replenishing energy cannot fix the real problem of hunger. As he studies the child, he notices it is wrapped in cloth and wonders if this is meant to protect its fragile body. Yet another issue soon arises as the baby wets its diaper and starts crying again. The divine beast can only curse the humans for leaving such a nuisance with him, as he tosses the kid towards some insects that swarm over it, and although he explains that they are merely feeding on the waste, the baby breaks into cries. The brief moments of silence never last, and Clevites, who had once hoped the child would mature in just a few nights, finds himself struggling to barely manage just through a single night. He questions why he listened to that woman and accepted this troublesome task, yet he knows abandoning the child now would shame him as the lord of dark beasts, and so his pride alone becomes the reason the infant still clings to life. He carries the child to the place where the fallen heroes rest and decides that he must find a mom for him. Alicia dreams of her father being brutally slaughtered on the battlefield, and when she wakes, she finds herself alive before Clevites. Shock turns to hostility as she reaches for her blade, but the beast tells her that he has cast both her comrades and their weapons into the depths of the crevasse. He explains that she was useful to him, which is why he brought her back, though not as she was, because now she is a walking corpse, sustained by the dark ichor he has given her. Alicia cannot understand a single thing, and questions how such a monster could even speak their language, but when she checks her leg and finds it stitched back, she realizes that the claim of her being resurrected is actually true. Clevites then comes straight to the point and orders her to feed the baby, but after much commotion, Alicia finally manages to make him understand why she cannot do that, explaining that only the mother who has given birth can provide that. Clevites calls her useless, and after enduring such humiliation, Alicia can only wish for death. But when she tries to end herself, Clevites stops her and tells her that now that his blood runs through her veins, she cannot simply die. Just then, the baby starts crying again, and Alicia questions the Lord of Beasts about why he is raising a human child, but he refuses to tell her the reason and only explains that he wants the child to grow into a full-sized adult. He orders her to find another way to fill the baby's belly and to cover the gap in his knowledge of how to raise a human child. And although Alicia argues that she herself has never raised one, she cannot go against his command, so she tells him that he will have to find a wet nurse. Alicia tells Clevetess that if he does not know any wet nurse, he would have to hire one with money. And when he asks about an alternative to money, she explains that he could trade the large amount of arcanocite stone from his mountain, since even a single piece would be enough to hire one. She thinks that if she had her sword, she could have tried attacking the beast, but now she clearly understands the huge gap between their powers. Just as the beast is about to leave to get the child a wet nurse, Alicia warns him that if he goes in such a massive form, the whole town will panic and he will never get one. So she asks him to hand the baby to her instead and promises to go on his behalf, vowing to never let a monster approach a village. She knows the child would be better off away from a beast, yet Clevetess refuses, saying he cannot allow the baby to die while he is away. And with his power, he changes into the humanoid form of the one who had carried the child before, while hiding the rest of his body. Alicia points out that he missed some parts, which he then conceals as well, and he gives himself the name Clen, and calls the child Luna after his mountains, choosing these names for when they go into the human town, while perhaps hiding his own, before asking the girl her name and telling her to come along. They set off on their journey, with Alicia stuck handling all the chores, even dirty jobs like cleaning the kid's poop. And while she's drying the child, Clevetess hovers nearby, acting like some nagging mother-in-law telling her what spots to clean. When he hands her a change of clothes, she notices the crest of the Haydenian royal family and accidentally blurts out that only royals are allowed to wear it, which means the kid is of royal blood. She furiously demands to know if he kidnapped the child, but Clevetess explains that it was entrusted to him by someone who looked exactly like his current form. Her panic worsens when he casually admits to murdering the king, and she warns him that now the entire kingdom will be hunting the kid, since only Haydenian royals possess the art of akrakanite smithing. Clevetess then realizes it must have been the child's destiny that led him to take it in, and he decides to raise the kid into becoming king, while supporting its rule from the shadows. When Alicia looks worried, he clarifies that he has no intention of invasion, but if he wants to observe humanoids, he might as well do it from the highest position possible. Alicia regrets giving away too much information, but Clevetess, now going by Clen, simply tells her they need to hurry and find a wet nurse. Meanwhile, a group of Duns from Bolad, including General Drell, arrives near the ruins of the Haydenian city castle and realizes that the legend of the heroes has fallen. He orders his men to send word to the Emperor through a messenger, then argues that with the Haydenian castle and king gone, a power vacuum now exists, and they must act before the Eslins do. He also considers the possibility of dark beasts making their move, but what he deems most crucial are the secrets of arcanonite smithing, known only to the Haydenian royal family, which he intends to seize before any rival nation. Declaring his intent to head for the border to restructure their armies, he instructs Maynard to remain behind and search for any surviving members of the royal bloodline and capture them alive. Back to Alicia and Clen, Alicia notices that the divine beast has an unusual obsession with Luna, and realizes that if Luna were ever killed or captured, Clevetess would wipe out humanity without hesitation, so she accepts it as her final duty as a hero to prevent that outcome. At that moment, a group of bandits surrounds them, and while Alicia worries about the bandits' fate, Clen collapses from a single strike, and both of them end up being taken captive. By the time she wakes up, she notices Clen looking at her with a calm face as he congratulates her on finally waking. He says it looks like they were captured, and hearing that, she is shocked that a lord of the dark beasts could be taken by mere humans, but he tells her it is fine since Luna was not harmed during the attack. After moving a little closer, she nervously asks how a surprise attack from bandits managed to knock him out in just one hit, worried he might be as weak as he looks after transforming. He tells her that's impossible, though he admits he was surprised by how weak and frail his body feels in this form. When she asks why they are not escaping, he reminds her his plan is to make Luna the focus for now, meaning he has no intention of revealing his true identity until he reaches his goal, and he admits he is curious to learn the dark truth of what happens to humans after they are kidnapped. When he asks her to explain what is going on, she answers that the bandits who captured them will probably sell them to a slave merchant. Clen curiously asks if bandits are considered strong, and she replies that while they are trash in human form, they are not exactly weak either, since they rely on dirty tricks to make up for their lack of strength. In the end, she warns him not to judge humans by appearance alone. With that, they eventually arrive at a small settlement built next to a giant pit. There, a man unlocks the cart and orders all the slaves to move quickly. A huge bald guy named Dagarn guides the men to one side and tells the women and children to stand on the other. But just then, one of the men tries to run away, and the freaky bandit named Fito throws his dagger straight into the man's heart from behind. After that, Dagarn announces they are the Ravens, and anyone who does not follow orders will meet the same fate. Just as Alicia whispers that this is a bandit's true nature, the big guy grins and orders her to follow him before he grabs her roughly and escorts her to their boss's room. Seeing Clem staring, the blonde lady named Carmi tells him to keep moving, but when she notices the baby in his arms, she tells him to come closer and shouts for Nell to hurry over. While carrying a huge stack of blankets, Nell stumbles on the stairs and trips like a complete clown, which instantly makes Carm snap at her with irritation over her usual clumsiness. Carm tells Nell it is her job to take care of the baby, the new slave brought with him, and Nell instantly falls in love with the adorable little thing. Meanwhile, outside, Dagarn steps into his boss Vroko's room and presents the blonde girl he requested. Vroko gets angry at him for calling him by name instead of boss, as he is now in charge with their actual leader, Zazak, gone. But the others remind him no one will ever call him that, so Vroko replies that he will just have to convince them with force, though the one doing that will be his cute pet, Betty. Taking one look at Betty, Alicia immediately realizes she is a dark beast from the west, called a troll, and wonders how the dwarf managed to tame one. At the same time, Betty tells him she wants a man to play with, so Vroko tells her she can have the two waiting by the door, making them both uncomfortable. Next, Vroko shows Alicia the bag of arcanocite she collected from Luna Mountain, making Alicia realize she is a suspect. With a slimy grin, the boss says he knows Clavates lives on that mountain and also knows the king sent 13 heroes there with their regalia, and all of them failed. Then, he points out that one of them was supposed to be a woman like her, and no normal human could get arcanocite that pure in human territory. There is also the fact that her muscles are chiseled, and she shows no fear even with Big Betty standing inches from her face, all of which makes him sure she is a hero. Then, Vroko explains that even though the Hitterat and the king's castle were destroyed, it is a golden opportunity for the Ravens. He unsheaths his sword with a red blade that leaves Alicia stunned, because it is a special steel, crafted only by Haydn royalty, known as Mana Hyderite. The red-tinted weapons are famous for making warriors stronger than normal, but he admits his is a fake. Vroko goes on to share that the Ravens deal in slaves and fake blades alike, since most people are too stupid to notice the difference. After that, he explains that every royal in the castle was butchered in Clevates's attack, which means the forged magic swords have skyrocketed in value as the supply is now limited. He proudly brags that only a genius like him could come up with such a brilliant business strategy. With that said, he shifts the subject to the hero's regalia, the purest and rarest magic weapons forged by the kings themselves. Vroko claims they will be worth tons of cash, which is why the Ravens are working hard to collect them. The first method is to wait until someone is chosen as a hero and steal it, but it is even easier to take one from a hero who is already dead. Unfortunately, most heroes die deep inside Dark Beast territory, which makes it nearly impossible to retrieve their weapons, so he asks Alicia directly where he and the other 12 heroes lost their regalia. He then orders Dagarn and Satch to have her lead them to the weapons the next day, but Dagarn nervously suggests they should send her elsewhere since she is clearly a hero, only for Vroko to snap back that she is their only chance to get those 13 weapons, so they cannot afford to let her die. He orders them to do their job and make sure to torture her until the only thing she remembers is how to obey her master. Hearing that, the men's opinion of their new boss suddenly improves, and they drag Alicia away while grinning about how much fun they will have. On the other hand, Clen is stuck serving drinks at a tavern where Nell sits feeding the baby. Suddenly, a loud man yells at her to bring his drinks, so she quickly lays Luna down, but the guy rudely kicks her and tells her to hurry up. While Clen silently observes their behavior, another man shouts at him to bring his order. The boy quickly becomes everyone's favorite obedient little waiter, and the men joke that it is a shame such an obedient boy will be sold off. But Carm mumbles that he looks creepy. Even though he has a horn like Orgetes, his skin is too pale and his eyes are red as blood. Just then, Nell carries over drinks when a man trips her on purpose, then uses it as an excuse to punish her for wasting their booze. Clen watches the scumbags drag her to the back, while the others laugh at their poor taste in women. Later that night, after the two finish tormenting the crying girl, they mock her on their way back. Suddenly, they both feel weird, like they drank too much, and then cough up blood before collapsing dead on the spot. Clem hides their bodies inside his shadows and calmly invites Nell to hear his offer. They move to a quiet place where he asks her if she is with the ravens. Nell hesitates at first, but then shares that she's lived with the ravens since she was a child. She did not know who her father was and never even got to see her mother's face from the front. She always watched her do her job from the shadows to avoid getting caught, and her mother tried her best to smile while tears rolled down her face. Nell does not know what happened, but her mother disappeared after she turned 12, and that was the time they started beating her every single day till she lost most of her teeth and hearing in one ear. Soon she realized her mother was protecting her the whole time. Things went on like that until Carm came into her life and made things easier. The surprisingly kind lady taught her how to handle rough men, and things got better even though she wasn't that good at it. Then Clen asks her where her child is because he heard only those humans who give birth produce milk. Hearing that, Nell goes quiet and shares that she lost her baby son after it was born. Even though everything was fine till birth, her whole world ended when Carm nodded to say it did not survive. She wished to end herself and meet her child in the afterlife, but when she woke up and saw the baby boy suckling, she decided she would survive for his sake. After Nell fed more and more babies, she made it her life goal to help abandoned babies survive. Hearing all that, Clen thanks Nell for sharing everything and offers to officially hire her as Luna's wet nurse because she has his trust, leaving her stunned. When he asks her to give an answer though, she says she is grateful, but he can't do that as a slave, and she has many babies to save. Back at the ravine, the bandits make the female hero walk the plank and tell her to forget about jumping off because there is more rock than water down there. After she takes a closer look, Alicia notices it is an ancient arcanasite mine. Just then, she sees a slave walking to the water down below, and the bandits laugh at the brave fool as they mention the tale of the hero Cordoir. At the bottom, the man tells the bandits to remember his deal if he succeeds, and his scared wife cheers him on. Without overthinking it, the man dives in and swims deep, making Alicia panic because if the legend of Cordoir is true, then the same dark beasts who ended the hero's life should be down there. The man's wife is horrified as the dark beast jumps to the surface and swallows him whole. Seeing that, Alicia is disturbed to see that the dark beasts that came in a flood 300 years ago still live on in the abandoned mineshaft. The monsters ended the strongest hero of his time, even though there was land to stand on, and his regalia, Stream Splitter, had the power to split a waterfall in half. She realizes that is what the bandits are after, and Satch asks her if her weapon also has a cool name like Stream Splitter, but she tells him it is none of his business. She then exposes them, saying they did not tie the man with a rope and never planned to let him survive, and realizes what they plan on doing with her. Still, Degarn reminds Alicia that her hands and feet are tied, and there is nothing she can do except cross the bridge over to the gentleman ready to torture her till she breaks. Suddenly, the crazy one named Fido jumps to her and shakes the whole bridge. Satch asks him if he has a death wish, but Fido says a blind man cannot be scared of heights if he cannot see them, but he thinks Alicia smells amazing, so he wants to have fun with her immediately. That makes Alicia furious, so she fulfills his wish by dislocating her shoulder and using her handcuffs to take Fido down the shaft with her, hoping Clen was right about her being immortal. Her body falls down with a loud splattering noise, and what is left behind is a twisted mess. The bandits look down and realize the woman is already dead. Panic sets in as they wonder what to do now that their only link to the 13 regalia is gone, knowing full well their boss Vroko won't forgive them for this. Just then, Alicia's eye twitches. Against all odds, she's still alive after the fall, though every bone in her body feels shattered, and she can't sense anything below her neck. Blood has poured out of her, and she's barely clinging to life. Even though she survived, she has no idea what she is going to do next. Knowing the bandits could reach her any moment, Alicia forces herself to move as her blood unnaturally gathers above her, shaping into a small red pup that looks like Clevetesse, who calmly tells her she has lost far too much blood. When she asks why he looks like a puppy, he explains that his form depends on the amount of dark ichor, which is the very thing keeping her alive, warning that once it runs out, she will surely die. He assures her that as long as he finds her worth saving, he will keep forcing it back into her body to restore everything. And when she weakly asks why he has stopped, fearing he has already given up on her, Clevetesse replies that he wanted to ask her a question. He argues that there was a woman named Nell who he thought would make the perfect wet nurse, but even though she had been treated poorly, when he offered her a chance to come with him, she refused without even considering it. Clevetesse asks her if she knows why the lady would do this. Alicia explains that this was because he is seen as a slave child, And people like these bandits would never allow anyone to leave and would chase the escapee to death, so escape was never really an option. Clevites then asks what he should do, and she tells him the most certain way would be to crush all of the bandits, since once they are gone, no one would dare follow her. She adds that it would be easy for him if he truly wished to, but Clevites replies that he cannot risk anyone finding out he is away from his territory, otherwise it might be attacked in his absence. With that conclusion, he pushes the burden onto Alicia and orders her to slaughter every last one of the Raven bandits. Clevites is of the point that no one is going to question a hero smashing a bunch of bandits, and even though Alicia tries to refuse, he forces the task onto her. By the time her blood enters her again, and the healing starts, the bandits arrive on the scene and are horrified at the sight of the hero standing back up again, with her bones twisting in all the odd fashions available out there. Alicia couldn't bear the pain that occurs each time a bone joins another and begs this to be stopped. But even though she looks like some zombie coming back to life, the bandits are happy that she is alive, and now they can know where the regalia are. The one leading the bandits tells them to be on guard, as the lady is definitely a hero. As one of the bandits approaches her and thinks he has got her, she punches him on the head and takes a sword and wears an eye patch as she gets ready to annihilate all of the bandits. Meanwhile, the Lord of Dark Beasts roams with the child in search of the wet nurse, hoping to make her reconsider his offer, and he tells the baby not to worry since Alicia was the first and only humanoid who ever managed to put a scratch on him. At the same time, Mel asks Carm what the outside world might look like and tells her that the slave boy asked her to go outside with him. Carm gets into a fight with Mel, and while she scolds her, unfortunately, the fat boss Vroko overhears everything and steps in, arguing that it isn't right for friends to hurt each other. Carmi points out that it is rare for him to come here himself, and Vroko replies that he heard they have gotten something special on their hands. Carm tells him that there is a new kid, and as he leaves, Vroko takes Carm along with him. As she is led away, Carm slams her hands on the table in anger, knowing that Mel is the only one capable of feeding the children. And now that she has been taken by Vroko, the babies will be left without anyone to care for them. While she is worrying about this, she hears a baby's cry and looks back to see Clen standing there with the child. When she notices the hungry baby, she argues that it can no longer have that at all because there is no one left to take care of it. Carm explains that Mel made a big mistake when she wished for something that wasn't meant for her, and when Clen asks what that means, the woman hesitates for a moment, but Clevites forces her to speak everything. Meanwhile, Mel is being led by the bandit boss to a hidden place, and Vroko explains that it used to be an arcanasite mine, as he points out the lamps made from a mixture of certain bug oils and melted arcanasite. He tells her that these pretty stones have far more uses than just forging swords, elaborating that they are now used for magic, which he had spent years researching before joining the Ravens. On their way, Mel grows uneasy when she notices skull bones scattered around, and just then, the lights go out. Mel grows worried, and when the lights come back on, she finds herself face to face with a giant dark beast that Vroko introduces as Betty, and he reveals that by mixing arcanasite powder with all sorts of drugs, he has finally gained the power to control dark beasts. He tells her that the Ravens always punish traitors, and her small wish to see the outside world was enough to count as betrayal, which is why he says she will be Betty's dinner for the night. As Mel is being devoured, she wonders if things would have turned out differently had she taken the kid's hand. And just then, Clen appears with the crying baby. Clen tells Luna to stop crying, saying this is the law of nature that everyone must follow, where they can either eat others or simply die, and therefore, he claims it was their fault for not arriving on time. What shocks the Beast Lord, however, is why a tiny fat human is controlling the proud troll of the West. The fat leader suspects that the boy standing in front of him must have been given some alcohol that made him lose his mind. Otherwise, he wouldn't be standing so calmly before a troll. Even though he dislikes losing the Hadenean kid, he still orders Betty to devour the two standing before her. But Betty becomes shrouded in fear, trembling violently until she even spits out her meal in terror. Clen finds Mel barely clinging to life and places the baby beside her after neutralizing the acid, then uses one of his tails to carry both the baby and Mel away, telling the child to comfort her in her final breaths. Meanwhile, the fat leader tries to convince his monster to stop fearing a pair of random kids, but when he notices only Clen is still standing, he wonders where the woman and the baby have disappeared to. Vroko accuses Clen of using some kind of magic and demands to know if he is a magic user. Clen asks him what this magic is, and the fat leader snaps back, asking if the boy is just trying to play dumb. Vroko argues that magic may be new, but insists the boy should not mistake him for some old bandit fool who knows nothing of it. He then pulls out a bottle to demonstrate, explaining the ingredients used to create it before using it to seize control of the female troll, boasting that one day he will command every dark beast. Clem feels disgusted by the smell, but Betty falls under Vroko's control and slams Clem aside, tossing his body away. At the same time, Alicia is cutting off the limbs of the bandits while sinking into memories of her past, when she once asked her father how she could become stronger. Her father told her to stop hesitating to use her techniques in front of her enemies, or to shy away from pain, explaining that hesitation only makes one stiff and weak, and once that stiffness is gone, she would truly become stronger. Back in the fight, Alicia has already taken down 8 of the bandits, leaving the rest unsettled, until the bandit leading them finally manages to knock her down. Her sword shatters, and she realizes just how brittle these weapons are for her, making her long for a blade that could truly match her strength. She runs off with an army of 50 bandits chasing her, knowing that even if she is currently immortal, her stamina is fading fast, and the dark ichor that heals her wounds seems to be draining it away even more quickly. She thinks of all the horrible things the bandits would do to her if they managed to catch her, and as soon as she reaches the edge of the cliff, she comes to a stop, deciding that the only way forward is to claim the legendary sword said to lie within the water below. She leaps upward and dashes toward the diving board, glancing down to see the dark beasts already circling eagerly as they wait for their next meal to jump in. Without wasting time, she rushes forward and begins hacking at the ladder scaffold, and with one final swing, she manages to bring it down completely, sending all of the bandits tumbling into the water. Fear grips them as they fall, and their voices rise in desperate shouts and pleas for help, but their cries are cut short as the beasts tear into them. Meanwhile, Alicia hides herself inside a barrel and begins sinking into the depths, reminding herself that she has one critical advantage that the previous hero didn't have, which is that even if she suffocates, she will not die. Before throwing herself into the lake, she expelled every bit of air from her lungs, and now all she needs to do is to endure the agonizing pressure and the pain until she finally reaches the bottom, where she expects to find the legendary blade waiting for her. One thing Alicia did not expect, though, is the mind-numbing pain of not being able to breathe. Still, she powers through with her undying body until the barrel finally hits the floor and lets her out into the water, where she spots the red shine of the legendary sword. With no oxygen left in her lungs, her body slowly floats toward the blade, and she hopes she recovers soon since the legendary sword makes its wielder strong. Just before her hand reaches it, a giant red eye belonging to an even greater monster opens in front of her. At that moment, Alicia realizes she is not at the bottom of the lake, but on the surface of a massive dark beast. She drifts through the water as the beast roars and swims upward, and right as she grabs the sword again, the monster begins sucking her into its mouth and chomps down. But even that does not stop the hero from keeping the blade tight in her grip. Back when she was a child, Alicia remembers her father saying her arms were weaker than a man's, but she would become a great hero because she had a gift for drawing out a weapon's strength. Suddenly, Alicia jolts awake and shatters the whale beast's teeth with a single swing. As the monster furiously stares her down, she activates Stream Splitter's hidden power that lets her swing her blade and slice through water like a torpedo. She slashes in every direction to dodge the massive fish as she climbs toward the surface, realizing the sword's true potential shines underwater. She now thinks the reason the hero of the past lost, even with an advantage in this environment, was not because he was weak, but because of the monster behind her, which she believes is the Ancient One. It is said dark beasts can live thousands of years, and often slumber for millennia. She guesses the Ancient One was awakened in a mining accident, meaning the hero of old may never have known it was even down there. On her way up, she notices the dark beasts are also in a panic, but Alicia cannot go on any longer, even with Stream Splitter's power, so she slashes as hard as she can and launches her body straight to the surface. After that, she catches the bandits by surprise when her body shoots out of the water and lands on the shore. They quickly notice the legendary sword in her hand, but the Ancient One suddenly rises and madly swings its tentacles across the surface, completely crushing every bandit in sight, while Alicia dodges the attacks. Seeing the beast eat bandits like breakfast, Alicia realizes she cannot slay it. Even if the sword can cut easily, it only works through the surface, and no hero can kill such a monster alone. She watches the beast swallow another scoop of bandits and notices that even the smaller beasts refuse to interfere, so she decides it is better to make a run for it. Just then, she hears the injured men apologize and beg her to save them because she is supposed to be a hero, but she lets them know she is not a hero anymore and that she serves something far more evil than the beast after them. After that, the Ancient One devours them, and the smaller beasts chow down on what remains. Seeing this, Alicia thinks it is safe to leave the dark beasts as they are, since they cannot leave the water, and they crushed the bandits, which means she has completed the job Clem gave her. She feels glad that, after watching what happened to most of them, knowing that none of the survivors will dare to come back, she also managed to get her hands on a pretty fine sword in the process. At that moment, she panics when she hears Clen's voice speaking through his dark ichor. He tells her he felt through his blood how much effort she put in, and she snaps back that it was more than just effort. She had to suffocate for a long time and run from the Ancient One, so he should have helped instead of just watching. However, Clen replies that he is dealing with a serious problem of his own. She feels shocked that even the Dark Lord has trouble, but he tells her he is not in his true form and is struggling against an ability he has never encountered before. He blames her for hiding the existence of magic from him and orders her to come to him immediately so he can punish her. At the same time, Vroko runs as fast as he can and wonders what is wrong with that little brat who one-shot his precious Betty with such a strange type of magic. It makes him think he might be senile and has somehow forgotten the school of magic it belongs to. But when he passes by Nell and sees Luna sitting beside her, a devious plan forms in his mind. Back in the cave, Alicia runs as fast as she can to reach Clen, but he coldly tells her she was too slow. After ranting for a moment, she asks him what the mist is, but he seems more interested in the sword she carries. The hero quickly guards it like it's her baby since she risked her life to bring it back. With that, he turns his attention back to the mist, which does not affect animals or Alicia, meaning it only disturbs the senses of dark beasts. He complains that it reeks, and says he would blow it all away after transforming, but that is dangerous, since he does not know where Luna is. He then tells Alicia should be further ahead with Nell, who was barely breathing. While Alicia remembers Nell was the wet nurse he wanted to hire, Clen orders her to go get them already, since she understands more about magic than he does. Alicia replies that she knows about it, but she cannot use it because only special humans can awaken magic through arcanocite, and it is only a rock to most people like her. Irritated, Clen says she is useless, but Alicia snaps that he mercilessly killed some of the heroes who could actually use it. Still, he ignores her and walks off to look for Luna and Nell himself in case they are in danger, or worse. Hearing that, Alicia asks what he would do if Luna was dead, and Clen flatly replies he would not do anything in particular, but his interest in humans would end. That confirms her suspicion that he is only delaying his plan to erase humans as long as Luna remains alive. As they head deeper into the tunnel, she notices bloodstains along the ground, and Clen explains that Nell was bleeding badly and should not have been able to move. Hearing this, Alicia thinks she either crawled on her own or something dragged her, but in either case, they cannot be far, so she rushes ahead. Meanwhile, Vroko does everything he can to run off with Luna, but Nell has tightly gripped his cape the entire way, refusing to release her hold. The man stomps her head again and again, shouting for her to let go of his priceless cape, but she refuses to let go. Realizing he needs to escape with the baby fast, he recalls what he discovered earlier. When Luna cried, his lamp exploded instantly. At that moment, he understood she had immense magic potential and knew only a pure-blooded Hydanian could possess such talent, and discovered her true identity. Right as he gets the idea to cut off Nell's arm, Alicia arrives and tells him to stop. The man is stunned she is still alive, and demands to know what happened to Dagarn and Satch, but Clen cuts him off, saying they are probably dark beast poo by now, a fitting end for trash like them. He then looks at Nell, who never let go even in her last moments, but Vroko threatens to slice off Luna's fingers if Clen takes even a single step closer. He shouts desperately that he will do it, but Clen simply tells him to go ahead, leaving the bandit leader dumbfounded. Alicia warns Clen to calm down because the scumbag would actually do it, but Clen ignores her and points out that he can always grow the fingers back. Still, Alicia reminds him she personally knows that his power cannot erase pain, so she steps forward and takes over the negotiation. Alicia uncovers the stream splitter, and Vroko instantly recognizes the Haydn crest on its hilt and the brilliant crimson shine. Next, she tells him it is the legendary sword from the lake he wanted, then hurls it into the wall behind him. She allows him to claim it on the condition that he lets go of the baby, since he will need both hands to pull it free. She says he is free to do whatever he wants with it after returning Luna, but she warns him not to try anything or else. Having said that, Alicia tells him to make his choice, but the scheming bandit leader laughs at the foolish hero for letting go of her weapon so easily. That confirms his suspicion that the baby really is royalty. He claims trading her for one regalia is unfair and demands more if she wants Luna alive. Verko gets greedy and asks for the location of her comrade's 13 swords, which really gets on Alicia's nerves, but Clem calmly orders her to just tell him since they are only pieces of metal. So she reluctantly says they are at the bottom of a canyon inside Luna Mountain, and tells him to go get them himself. Hearing that, Vroko says he will gladly go as he pulls out a black vial. He brags that she was wrong to underestimate him, and smashes it open, releasing invisibility magic dust over himself. He then shakes Luna awake, and her strong magic potential makes the dust erase his huge body perfectly. Vroko walks off proudly, thinking they cannot see him through his perfect magic. He even leaves the stream splitter stuck in place, so it will not reveal his steps, since he already knows where 13 more treasures await him. But his dream of becoming an unstoppable boss and taking revenge on his enemies ends quickly when Alicia slices him in half. She reminds the genius that while his invisibility was perfect, he still had a baby screaming in his arms the whole time. Clem brushes the invisibility dust off Luna, while Alicia says it was thanks to Nell that they caught Vroko in time. After that, she notices Nell is still breathing and asks if he can save her. Clem replies he can only control one human with dark ichor, and her missing parts would need replacements, so she may not be worth the effort. Alicia begs him and gives many reasons why he has to save her. After hearing her long speech, Clem says he will need dark ichor to heal Nell, and for that, she must die. Alicia agrees without hesitation, and says it is a hero's duty to sacrifice for others. Without wasting a moment, Clem grants her wish, and her body drops lifelessly to the floor. A few minutes later, Nell suddenly wakes up with a full set of teeth. Surprised she is still alive, she asks Clem if he saved her, and he answers that the hero lying behind him gave her life to save her. Right as Nell thanks Alicia, the girl's body twists, and she wakes up, with the first thing on her mind being her precious sword. After that, Clem hands Luna to her and calls her Niluru, the name he has chosen for her. Then he asks if she is willing to join him on his journey, and Nell happily agrees. The next day, as they are leaving, Clem confiscates Alicia's legendary sword after he realizes that it would stand out too much. Alicia protests, but he vanishes the blade into his shadow and reassures her that she will get it back when they actually need it, and that she should be grateful he did not decide to dispose of it. Just then, Nell comes out with Luna, carrying quite a lot of supplies for their journey. She has even found a fresh pair of clothes for Luna and herself. Alicia points out that the load must be heavy, but Nell acts like it is nothing, which makes Alicia wonder if Clem had patched her up with body parts from the dead muscular bandits behind her back while she was dead. Nell even offers to carry Alicia's armor and sword, as she calls her a hero and insists on helping, but Alicia explains she doesn't have any armor or sword. Nell then suggests Alicia could take the ones from Vroko's desk, and after Clem gives his permission, she hurries to fetch them. Nell remarks that Alicia is much cuter than she expected, though Clem dismisses her as nothing but an idiot. As Clem walks with Nell, he asks if she is going to miss this place, but she tells him she has no good memories here, though seeing it empty did make her sad because it was where she once lived with her mother, and above all, she wishes she could have at least said goodbye to her big sister Carm. Just then, a stranger suddenly drops down from above, looking as if he had been looking for Clem all over the place. On the other hand, Alicia is roaming and blasting through doors as she arrives at Vroko's room. She looks around, hoping no one has stolen the things during all the commotion. Luckily, she finds some money and decides to keep it, as she jokes around that it would be hard to tell who the real bandit is here. She further checks the stuff and finds a revealing woman's leather armor, which makes her confident that the Vroko guy must have been a dirty old geezer. She even wonders if the guy liked to wear it when no one was around, but in the end, she puts it over her dress to at least soften the pain from attacks, since being kind of immortal doesn't mean she feels no pain. She then finds herself a decent sword, and the moment she is ready to leave, all of a sudden, Clem comes flying and bursting through the wall as he crashes and then complains about his tiny human body. Alicia asks the beast who is responsible for this, and just then, the random guy appears. The guy asks Clem if he has gotten more people with him, and Alicia takes out her sword as she realizes just how strong the unwanted guest is. The guy comes at her with an exceptional kick, which Alicia barely manages to dodge, and then he follows it up with multiple attacks from mid-air. Alicia struggles to keep up, but eventually he overpowers her when he uses a wind spell that sends her flying away. He then follows her outside and tells her that he is only interested in Clem and would let her go if she stays out of his way. Alicia remarks that she doesn't know if he is one of the bandit survivors, and then uses a sword technique called the Hidden Sword Rising Dragon, which makes her lose her senses as she attacks. But just as it is about to reach the enemy's throat, she is stopped by Clem. Alicia remains in her attack posture as she resists Clevetess's command, but Clem rushes at her and slaps her out of it. The hero protests about being slapped, but Clem questions her if she had emptied her brain of everything except the thought of murder, to which she admits that this is exactly how the technique works. Clem then explains that the new guy had attacked them because of some misunderstanding and tells her that if he hadn't stopped her, she would have been ripped apart. The new man demands an explanation, claiming Nell reeks of a Western troll, to which she answers that it is because she was swallowed by one. It soon becomes clear that he was chasing a small man who controlled that troll, which is why he suspected Clem to be involved. Clem calmly tells the wet nurse to take Luna and wait at the village entrance, and once they leave, he reveals to Alicia that the figure before them is no ordinary person but a dark beast. Alicia's concern grows at his words, and Clem further explains that the man even bears wings, and he himself realizes that only one creature could wield illusions like this, as he recalls Zavthir of Phantasms, the lord of the western dark beasts. Clem adds that Zavthir has always been at odds with Clevetess of the Moonlight. The new guy grows suspicious, and questions how Clem knows so much and who he truly is. In response, Clem introduces himself as the servant of Lord Clevetess, carefully keeping his real identity hidden. The stranger then reveals his actual form, and argues that their goals are not far apart, since he has heard that Clevetess destroyed a humanoid capital, and Lord Zavthir is also considering wiping out the humanoids. He finally states his name as Gart, claiming that, just as Clem said, he too is a servant of Lord Zavthir. To prove his words, Gart shows his dark beast form and demands that Clem do the same. Clem responds by pulling out only a single one of his tails and asks if that is enough proof. Gart accepts it without protest, since he has no intention of fighting Clem. Alicia, however, grows tense at the sight of another dark beast in human form, but Clem quickly notices her suspicions and addresses them. He explains that very few dark beasts are capable of transforming into humans or speaking like them. This only unsettles the girl further, as she begins to wonder if Clevetess can somehow read into her very thoughts. Gart then shifts his attention toward Alicia and demands an explanation, arguing that heroes are their greatest enemies and demanding to know what she is doing here. Clem calmly replies that this lady is his guide and something like a bodyguard, further adding that the other two companions serve similar purposes. Bart reluctantly accepts the explanation, though he makes one thing very clear, that if they ever attempt to stand in his way, he will completely obliterate them. But Clem refuses to allow such a threat. With that settled, Clem begins asking his own questions and demands to know why Bart's master is suddenly planning to destroy humanity, pointing out that Zavthir has always been known to enjoy simply observing humanoids and is even looked as a divine deity by the Orgites who dwell in the western forest. Alicia also finds this strange, as it is exactly because of the Orgites' devotion that the heroes have never dared to attack Zavthir, knowing the tribe would never allow it, which leaves her wondering what could have happened to bring about such a drastic change. Gart explains that about 3 days ago, while flying over the forests, he discovered that several dark beasts were missing their younglings, and among the traces he even found a strange bottle of liquid. What unsettles him more is that this marks the 9th disappearance of a dark beast's baby, though he suspects the actual number is even higher, and for some reason, he strongly believes the humanoids are behind it. When he informs Zavthir about it, she gets disappointed in the Orgites and takes this as a bad omen, and when Gart suggests summoning the Orgite chiefs, the Western Dark Lord refuses, saying she no longer trusts them and instead orders him to investigate what is happening in their world, warning that they may eventually have to consider destroying the humanoids altogether. Clem is startled to hear Zavthir has reached the same conclusion before him, while Gart points out that younglings have gone missing from the southern region as well, which is why he is searching for clues here. Clen answers that he already killed the small man and the troll when they attacked him, but Gart dismisses it as nothing more than an act of self-defense. Lord Clavates tells Zavthir's envoy that things are far worse than he imagines, as not only the children of dark beasts have been abducted, but human children as well. Clen recalls asking Karm about it, and she explained that strange men in black robes came to take the children, and they were so powerful that even Vroko seemed afraid of them. Putting the pieces together, Clen suggests that something new, called magic, is involved in all this. Bart has no idea what it means, and when Alicia looks unsettled, Clen turns to her for answers. She admits she doesn't know much about magic herself, but believes all of this mess has something to do with those who wield it as a weapon of war, which she refers to as wizards. Alicia further explains that these wizards have suddenly appeared and shifted the tide of the war between the Bolat and the Eslin on the Dun Plain, adding that in these times, it is a wizard's skill that truly decides the course of battle. She tells them that the one who first brought this power into the war was a man known as the Dragon Slayer, General Drell, the same man who murdered her father. As Clen notices Alicia's anger, he asks why she chose to come after him instead of the one who killed her father, and she gloomily replies that it was her father's final wish. Near the fortress walls, the Eslin forces have set up camp as their leader orders them to gather by the west gate. The division leading them is the 1st Royal Guard under the command of Rod Royce, who listens as Mikkel arrives with troubling news. Captain Mikkel reports that their advance forces have been wiped out at the hands of General Drell's army, which numbers 50,000. Rod grows concerned, realizing that the Bolades are most likely aiming to capture Haydn, while Eslin itself has barely 6,000 soldiers and only a small number of wizards. Even if they wanted to resist, his entire force would not be capable of even slowing down Drell's overwhelming army. Mikkel then asks about reinforcements from the main army, but Rod explains that they would take at least 3 days to arrive. Kneeling down, Rod maps out a plan on the ground, pointing out that the Bolates are heading toward the High Gate, while the fortress has a smaller western entrance that they could use to enter and seal the gate. In this way, their smaller numbers might just be enough, but it will require cooperation from Haydn, and although they have already sent messengers, no response has come yet. He is certain that chaos must already be raging inside the castle, and Mikkel asks if the rumors about the Lord of the Dark Beasts attacking the castle are actually true. Rod answers that it would explain why the most powerful Bolate general, Drell, is marching toward Haydn. He believes their target is the Royal Forge, since without it, there would be no regalia. Rod argues that every weapon Mikkel and the other captains wield was forged there, and losing it would cripple them. He adds that the greater danger lies in the forge itself, as it is the world's oldest artifact, and holds the deepest secrets of magic, something every researcher would value above all else. Mikkel worries that their rivals' magical forces may already be ahead of them, and if they gain those secrets, it would mean game over for the Eslins, with the Bolate possibly seizing all of Edthea. Rod insists this is exactly why they must stop Drell's forces at any cost. Just then, a knight rushes in with urgent news that the west gate remains shut, but the east gate is beginning to open. Meanwhile, Maynard finally forces the door open and comes face to face with General Drell, greeting him with a smile and saying he has been awaiting his arrival. Drell demands an update, and Maynard reports that the King of Haydn is already dead, while the Crown Princess has been taken somewhere safe. The real issue, he explains, lies with the king's 6-month-old son, who is the only confirmed heir with royal blood. According to Maynard, the child was taken away by a black-haired boy and has since gone missing, leaving it uncertain whether he is even alive or not. With a smirk, Maynard adds that word from the Ravens claims a Hydonian infant has been captured by them, and he intends to investigate it. Maynard Swan, the most powerful wizard of Bolates, gains Drell's approval to retrieve the Hydonian child, and gets instructed to meet him before the general reaches Hiderat. At the same time, Clen and his slaves continue their journey, eventually stopping to rest up a bit. Clen asks Nell what the black liquid she gave him is, and she says it is called coffee, which is so costly that even someone as rich as Vroko only drinks it sometimes since it is imported from beyond the eastern seas. Hearing that, Clen takes a sip and feels his weak human tongue burn, so when Luna tries to sneak a taste, he quickly picks it back up. Next, Nell asks him where Gart went, and he recalls that the man said he would return to report what he found about the wizards, but he assures her that he is no longer after them. After that, Alicia comes back and says the merchants in town told her that Haydn is in complete chaos. She pulls out a map and explains that the neighboring kingdom of Bolate breached their borders to invade, and even though Haydn tried to fight back, it is impossible to stop the enemy without the king's influence. Alicia adds that the other neighbor, Eslin, failed to stop Bolate, making Clem curious why they even tried. She explains that Bolate and Eslin have long been enemies, and since Eslin is much weaker in magic, they cannot allow Bolat to seize the power of Haydn's forge. The problem is, Haydn cannot use its forge without the king's knowledge of magic, as there are not many wizards, mostly because the king made it illegal to practice magic inside his borders, which is why Clevetess never got to see it before. Just then, Nell stuns Alicia with a cup of coffee, and Clem makes fun of her peasant reaction to the premium drink. The hero gets annoyed, saying it is obvious she didn't have coffee back in her village, but her anger vanishes after a single sip of Nell's special brew. After that, Nell picks up the baby and takes it away so it does not disturb the adults talking, and seeing how good she is with children, Alicia says out loud that Nell is so kind and positive that just watching her makes her happy. Hearing that, Clem says even though there is only one thing about her that's female, she still cannot marry Nell. That line embarrasses Alicia, and she clarifies that she was just surprised that her sword can make Nell happy and feels like she finally did something heroic. With that said, she asks Clem to focus and decide how he plans to make Luna king when the whole country is falling apart, thanks to a certain someone destroying the royal capital. Clem replies that he could simply take over Bolat instead of Haydn, but Alicia points out that Bolat will never accept Luna as king. Even worse, he would be thrown in prison for being a Haydnian if caught, since his pure blood and his pink hair and ears give him away. Then, she says, Luna might be the last royal with the inherited power to forge weapons from arcanocite, and the general of Bolate's army, Demon Slayer Drell, definitely wants that. She remembers how the man went out of his way to hunt down her father and punish him even after he left the army for a peaceful life, and all he said was that his magic reached a greater height after defeating the man who mastered swordsmanship. Just as his magic sword lit up, Alicia asked if he killed her father, only to test his magic. Drell used his power to blast her home to bits, and called himself an old friend of her father, and the one who seeks true power. Alicia tried to chase after him, but her father stopped her, warning that she would be dragged into war if she fought a warmonger like him. Since the path of war is the opposite of a hero's path, he made her promise she will never to fight Drell. Instead, he told her to adventure to the ends of the earth to see what lies there, and let her father see it too, before he fell to the ground. Back in the present, Alicia says that is why Clem must save Haydn from Drell's army if he wants to make Luna king. Clem is annoyed at the demand because he thinks it is pointless to protect something he plans to destroy later, but he agrees anyway and orders her to stay back to protect Nell and Luna. He also says it would be a disgrace if anyone discovered a Lord of the Dark Beasts was working for the sake of mere humans. On top of that, he has his own questions for Drell and his wizards if they are kidnapping Dark Beast children, and he admits he is curious to see how strong these wizards really are. Then, he tells her there is no need to avenge her father, since his last wish was for her not to fight the man. Alicia admits she made that promise because the path of war does not suit a hero, but claims it should be fine now since she is no longer a hero. However, Clem asks her if it is really up to her to decide that. He asks if wielding a sword to slay beasts makes her a hero, and why she wanted to become one in the first place. Alicia answers that she wanted to make the world bigger, so Clem points out that Nell's world is already bigger because of her, and although he never told her to stop being a hero, she is free to quit whenever she chooses. After that, he walks into the forest while Nell is playing with Luna, when a sudden burst of wind blows so hard that Luna floats into the air. After saving the kid, Nell asks Alicia where Master went, and the hero answers that he will return soon whether they like it or not, as Clevetess sprints through the forest at full speed. He leaps onto a mountain and howls at the sky, just as the Bolate army begins its attack at the border under General Drell's command. The Eslin scouts watch the second fortress collapse, and Mikhail asks what they should do since the army will reach Hiderat before reinforcements arrive. Rode believes they can stop the army at the wide river up ahead with his unique power. Back in town, the girls are heading to an inn when they suddenly hear an angry crowd surrounding a Raven Gang survivor who dared to show his face in their city. The The man swears he was only running away, and when Alicia notices Nell is scared and tells her nobody can recognize her new face, she walks away fast when the Raven survivor points at her and yells that she was the hero who released the monster on them. The merchants clearly do not buy his story, and Alicia covers herself as she hears them say the country would not be in chaos if heroes were still alive. Later that day, 9 Raven survivors are hanged from a tree, and the townsfolk start to think maybe they were not lying about the giant dark beast. The men believe the country is too unstable after Clivites attacked, so they have to take up weapons and guard their homes themselves. Outside the inn, Alicia sees how panicked the citizens are, so she tells Nell to call her Alicia instead of Hero to hide her real identity. Next, she opens the inn door guarded by 2 big men, and they instantly question her like she is a bandit, but the innkeeper, who is also their mother, Carrie, tells her boys to calm down unless they want to wake the baby. Still, the chubby one complains that Alicia has an eye patch and sword, but the innkeeper argues that no man or woman can survive outside without a blade these days. The woman then calls Phil a coward for someone his size, just like his dad, and tells Pete to stop grunting like an idiot every time he gets nervous. Right after that, Carrie notices the baby is a pure-blooded Hydanian and asks Alicia for an explanation, unless she wants the big oafs to chase her out. Alicia quickly says she and Nell are guards hired to protect the child for someone important, and she manages to pass the lady's lie detector. Carrie guesses some noble probably hired them, so it is none of her business as long as they spend money at her inn. Hearing that, Alicia asks for a good room where the baby can rest and food for 2 days. She pays up, and Carrie tells her to get comfortable, but Phil and Pete warn that outsiders cannot be trusted, so the lady smacks Phil and says, "This is why they never got a girlfriend." Pete quickly offers to carry Nell's bag because he is desperate for a girlfriend, and Phil gets jealous that he made the first move. But both regret helping when they realize how heavy the backpack is and end up carrying it together. Inside the room, Alicia is surprised to see iron beds, and the innkeeper shares that they were a reward from the king for chairs crafted by the town's greatest carpenters. Though times have gotten worse now that the king is dead and war is ahead, that makes Alicia feel guilty, and she apologizes to the woman who does not know she is a hero. After that, Nell says it is time to put Luna to bed, so while Alicia relaxes, a fly controlled by Maynard watches her through the window, and the Bugmaster commands his swarm of endless insects to claim the missing Prince of Haydn. The next morning, Alicia looks at Luna Mountain from the window and wonders if Clivites is on the battlefield. Meanwhile, Nell watches Luna sleep, and the girls smile when they see the little one grow out his first tooth. Just then, Carrie comes to say breakfast is ready, and Alicia tells Nell she will go while she watches the child. While the innkeeper points Alicia to the counter where her meal is, a man asks her who the new girl is, but she shuts him down by saying he has no shot with her, and she already has a kid. Right after that, a drunk man asks if the king is dead, and another one answers that he got himself killed on the mission to slay a dark beast lord. Whispers start spreading about how useless the heroes were, saying they only cared about getting regalia from the king, and one even sold it as soon as he got it. Suddenly, a man shouts that making swords is easy, but no one can defeat a dark beast lord, and that is probably why the king stopped crafting weapons 15 years ago. He says it is outrageous that the king suddenly chose 13 heroes and held a grand parade where they swore to kill all the dark beasts, only for them to die like weaklings. Alicia feels the words cut into her soul as she walks back to the room until she stops, ready to shut the drunk men up, but she manages to keep her cool, and while she heads upstairs, a huge red ball bursts through the wall. She senses a dark beast and tries to stop Phil from touching it, but the ball grows into a massive centipede beast. While everyone stands frozen by the giant bug, Maynard enters and declares it is one of his rare pets that survive in dark beast territory, which he likes to call amazing bugs. He warns them not to move unless they want to end up as bug food. Alicia realizes she left her sword in the room, and one man bolts in panic, only to be eaten alive by the flying insects outside. Seeing that, Maynard grins and says he forgot to mention his swarm is covering the city to sniff out a rat. That makes the innkeeper furious, and she demands to know who he is. The High Wizard of General Drell's army makes his official introduction and explains that he is on a mission to confirm whether the Haydn baby is royalty. That is when Alicia hears Nell scream, as she gets attacked by the other High Wizard girl named Nanny. Nell asks Nanny if she belongs to the army, and the High Wizard girl confidently replies that she's quite strong. Nell then questions how she managed to leap onto the second floor. Nanny explains that she uses a wooden axe to climb since her magic allows her to control gravity, letting her attract or repel anything made of iron. To prove it, she grabs the axe again and demonstrates the repelling force, showing that with this ability, she could practically fly if she wanted. Sitting beside baby Luna, she begins talking about a turtle from the west with an iron shell, saying that her magic is believed to have originated there. According to rumor, striking the turtle with a steel sword only makes the weapon stick to its shell, while a stone spear is instantly pushed away. As she finishes describing the strange creature, she takes out a big candy. Nell asks her what she plans to do with that, and the lady answers that it is nothing more than a medicine meant to reveal how much talent a person holds. If someone has talent and takes it, the color of their eyes will change, but if they lack potential, they will end up coughing blood and dying. Nell begins to grow uneasy, yet Nay insists that the pain will only last for a short while. She then forces the baby to swallow it, and as Nell cries out, Alicia hears her voice and tries to run toward them. Maynard notices her and immediately orders his giant centipede to block her path. Meanwhile, the baby keeps resisting the medicine while Nell cries out with tears in her eyes, struggling to break free from the rods. Nai mocks her, saying it is useless since her iron can stop even a charging bull, and that Nell would need the strength of 2 bulls to escape. Fueled by anger, Nell does the impossible and hurls the iron bed against the wall, breaking it apart with a crash loud enough to alert Maynard. Turning to his centipede, he is stunned to see Alicia safe, standing firm while holding the creature with her bare hands. Alicia declares that she will not be taken down so easily, and upon witnessing her strength, Maynard finally realizes that she is actually one of the 13 heroes. After Alicia finishes off the centipede, she rushes over to check on the baby and finds it safe with Nell. Alicia asks if the high wizard girl had made a hole in the wall, but Nell admits that it was she who did it, just by pushing the beds. Alicia looks a little surprised, yet she does not waste time and takes her sword to leave. More bugs crawl toward them, but Alicia tells Nell to trust her and jump down. The insects leap after them, yet Alicia unleashes another technique called the multi-strike dragonfly and clears them out with ease. The two make a run for it while Nai tries to block their way, but fails, and with the swarm of bugs outside, she decides to give up on the chase. The bugs also stop pursuing the two, which makes it clear that they had been ordered to surround the inn. As Alicia and Nell head toward the town, they end up facing another wall of bugs in the forest. Alicia says she cannot keep using the dragonfly technique again and again, and decides that hiding is the best option for now, since keeping the baby safe is the highest priority. Nai comes down and apologizes to Maynard for letting them escape, and when he asks if she checked whether the baby had magic, she explains that she could not since she was stopped by a powerful, muscular woman. Maynard argues that they underestimated the two, revealing that the woman with the eye patch was none other than Alicia Glenfall, whom he had seen before when Drell fought her father. He points out that a hero would never travel with an ordinary baby and declares there is no need for testing since their target is already found, then bursts into manic laughter at the thought of torturing them, and then he orders all the townspeople to be gathered in the main square. The village heads don't look too happy about being gathered like this, and warn Maynard that they are all armed, and his bugs will not scare them. Their leader adds that if he wants a fight, they are ready to give him one, but allows him to explain his reasons for coming to their land. Maynard acts unstable before starting to twist their minds, telling them they would not even be in this position if their king had not died. He claims they may look like an invading force, but in truth, they are here to protect them and their territory, asking what they would do if the dark beast were to return. The villagers reject his claims and remind him that he has already taken one of them down. Maynard calls it an unfortunate accident and then drags Alicia into it, painting her as a dangerous criminal. He calls her a traitor to Haydn and the enemy of all humanoids, and when they question who she is, he reveals that the woman with the patch is one of the 13 failed heroes, urging them to hunt her down as if she were their true enemy. At the same time, General Drell's forces are nearly 10 kilometers from the capital when the general suddenly halts and orders those hiding to come out. As his hand rests on his blade, Commander Rod emerges from the bushes and activates his Regalia Frostflower, which freezes the ground beneath because they were walking on water. Rod stands before Drell, declaring that he will stop him here while the Eslin army charges from behind him straight at the enemy. Because of the slippery ice, even the heavy grandos of the enemy slip and fall, and Rod argues that this much ice should give a 6,000-strong army a real chance against one that is 50,000. Captain Mikkel then leads the charge, ordering the soldiers to target the mages first. Drell looks at Rod and calls him the descendant of the hero Roy, admitting that his strategy is clever. He praises the commander for wielding such a powerful regalia, but points out that even with it, he cannot hope to freeze an entire river. Drell then catches on to Rod's real plan and points out that a number of wizards had been placed upstream to cool the water enough to keep it close to freezing. Rod rushes forward to attack, but Drell deflects his strike with ease. The commander follows with his Vine of Ice attack that freezes Drell's horse and forces the general to dismount and face him in a duel. During their clash, Drell continues to praise Rod for the way he has drawn out the true strength of his regalia. However, he says it is still not enough and pushes him back. The general draws out a claw from his weapon and uses a powerful skill that deals heavy damage to Rod, rendering him immobile. Captain Mikkel calls on his army to support their commander, and they all charge forward. General Drell explains that he has fused his blade with magic and turned it into something far greater than a normal sword, and with a single slash, he wipes out not only Rod's soldiers, but also his own. When Rod questions this cruelty, Drell coldly replies that anyone weak enough to die here has no right to move beyond their world. His talk about going beyond the world and something about shackles leaves Rod confused as he tries to figure out what Drell is after. Drell answers that he wishes to destroy the legend of the heroes because it is pointless to hold on to a tradition that can never be fulfilled. He calls the legends foolish for forcing heroes into battles they are destined to lose. He mocks Rod's grandfather, who was his friend, saying they too believed in the same legends and were defeated. As he continues to scorn the legend, General Drell turns away, saying he has no plans of finishing him as a sign of respect for the beautiful battle Rod has given him. Just then, something falls from the sky, and when Drell looks, he sees Clevites standing before him. The Dark Beast Lord recognizes Drell and lets out a powerful howl, leaving everyone shocked at how a beast could speak. Drell draws his blade to face him and demands to know what he wants. The Lord of Dark Beasts asks him where the magic he uses comes from. Clevites explains that younglings from both humans and dark beasts are being kidnapped, and he has been told that this mystery is connected to magic. Drell mocks him, saying he expected the mighty beast to have far more important matters than chasing him down just for a question. Clevites replies that a lord must answer any invasion within his territory, declaring that anyone who defiles it will die by his hand, just as the king of this nation did, and he calls it the law of the world. Drell laughs at this and asks who created such a law, but before he can strike, Clevites pierces him with his tail and lifts him high, warning him to stop answering questions with questions. Yet Drell only laughs again, saying he knew Clevites would stab him, and asks if the beast really thought he would never be prepared for his return. As blood pours from his body, a third eye pops up on Drell's forehead, and he casts a sealing spell called the Prison of Dark Ichor. His body bursts apart into blood that forms a dark sphere trapping the mighty lord. Suddenly, Drell rises again from his blade, declaring that he has given up his flesh and has become the sword itself. He explains that he sacrificed his body to forge the Prison of Dark Ichor, a cage that not even a lord of dark beasts can escape. As he walks away, he tells Clevites to slowly die within the sphere, while Commander Rod can hardly believe that one of the 4 lords of dark beasts was defeated so easily. Meanwhile, Alicia and Nell keep running as Alicia leads them to a place while the villagers chase after her. Later, the townsfolk finally find her hiding inside a cabin, and Phil demands she come out at once. He yells that she thinks she's a special hero just because she knows how to swing a sword, but she got destroyed when she fought a real beast. He complains he is tired of seeing heroes get paid with his tax money just because they slay a little dark beast here and there. Phil claims woodworkers like them plant trees, cut them down, and work hard to build houses, while heroes are useless, which makes the crowd angrier than before. Alicia realizes things are getting dangerous, so she tells Nell to keep Luna away from the window because the prince's life is most important. She expected this to happen when they found out she was a hero, but things happened a little too fast, and Maynard only made things harder. As she wonders what to do, Phil announces he is tired of waiting and gets ready to set the cabin on fire, but his brother stops him when their parents show up. The man turns out to be their father, who tells the boys he will not let them burn down the place their ancestors built. Phil still argues that they have to hand the hero over to the wizards, but his father smacks him and tells him it is a problem for them to solve on their own, and they do not take orders from outsiders, so he told 2 of his men to keep an eye on the outsiders before they cause trouble. Then, their father, Mike, introduces himself as head of the town guard, and asks the hero to come out with the promise that he will not harm the ones with her as long as she answers his questions. Hearing that, Alicia decides to go out, and Mike is surprised she actually has the guts to show up. He asks her where her regalia is, and she simply says she lost it, but she clarifies she lost it during the fight with Clavatus. Mike questions if Alicia truly fought the Dark Beast Lord and lost, and she admits the heroes were completely destroyed, so it is understandable for everyone to be mad, and she apologizes. But Mike surprises her by saying it is no problem, because he would have ordered his men to kill her if she sold her regalia. He says it was their own king who followed the tradition to send her on an impossible mission, and Alicia is shocked that he does not blame her. However, Mike asks her if the tradition of sending heroes is worth keeping alive, if the world beyond is worth exploring, and what decision they should support when the next king comes into power. As she is the only hero who made it beyond Luna Mountain for thousands of years, Mike asks her to reveal what she saw there, which reminds Alicia of the time she was launched into the sky and got a glimpse of the round planet with a horizon that looked like it went on forever. She claims there is no doubt it was worth it, and there are too many things humans cannot experience in their tiny world, and so many things they will not discover unless they take a leap of faith. After that, she says she only recently learned from someone arrogant and cold, who treats her like a dirty sock, that her life in this tiny world would have ended without meaning. She confidently states that there is a meaning to exploring the outside and sending heroes beyond the mountain peaks, and she will never let anyone say there is not. Her speech stuns all of the townsfolk, and Mike laughs, saying at least the last king did not make a mistake in choosing the right heroes. He tells her she can go while the elders calm down the fired-up young ones ready for a witch hunt, and give their next king a chance, leaving her surprised by how he knows about Luna's identity. After that, Mike is on his way back to town, when the giant centipede with Maynard on top cuts him down. The High Wizard is offended that he thought he could sneak the hero past him, and yells at Alicia that she ruined his fun game. When she asks him what game he is talking about, the madman says it is the game where he enjoys watching the people of Hyden hunt down their own hero. That makes her furious, so she slices down his dark beast mount and orders all the civilians to hide inside the cabin before the bugs come. Suddenly, the huge swarm of bugs surrounds the area, so they all hide inside the cabin with Nell and Luna and close the door before they get inside. Outside, the hero yells as she cuts down bugs left and right till she is out of breath, and Maynard is impressed by her hero-level strength and the willpower to sacrifice herself to save the people. But he deletes all hope she had as he reveals the little ones were injecting her with poison the whole time she was busy fighting the big ones. Bees fly in the air, ants crawl up her legs, and the worst of all are the spiders whose poison destroys blood from the inside. Alicia panics on hearing that, and Maynard explains the spider's poison is so powerful that it melts a living being from the inside. He admits he has a strong hatred for heroes, even though he used to idolize them as a kid, but that changed to hate when no hero came to save him, when his village was burned, and he lost everything, and even the elderly couple next door were more helpful than a hero back then. Maynard claims heroes are just glorified fighters who cannot protect anyone as Alicia's condition gets worse, and he says only people like him and General Drell can save everyone. Then, he sends forth his swarm to devour her, while Alicia realizes the poison also destroys the dark ichor in her body. She swings her sword as fast as she can to fight back, when she suddenly hears Clavatus call out to her and tell her to finish her job because he needs her. She asks him what he wants, as Maynard laughs like a maniac, watching her desperately fight for her life, while the poison makes it nearly impossible to even stand up straight. Inside the cabin, Nell and the others notice the insects are getting inside, so the innkeeper tells them to fix up the gaps between the wooden planks and crush any insects that get inside, because it is their job to protect Nell and the baby, who is their country's future. The woodworkers get fired up with tools in hand and board up all of the gaps tightly and crush any invaders. Meanwhile, Maynard enjoys watching Alicia struggle and asks if she really thinks she can make the world bigger when she is so weak. Next, he activates the arcana sight on his chest to summon a scorpion dark beast from under the earth. Alicia is surprised by the huge scorpion that smashes her into the lake with its stinger. Under the water, Clivites notes her movements are a lot slower because of the poison, and she realizes her wounds are not healing either, which means the poison is also affecting the dark ichor in her body. The Dark Beast Lord corrects her that while it cannot destroy the ichor, its power to heal her injuries will not work till the poison wears out, so she is no longer immortal. On the surface, Maynard smugly asks the hero why she is not coming out and warns her that he will attack the innocent people if she does not come out soon. Inside the cabin, Phil freaks out when a giant caterpillar falls down from above, and Pete notices they are eating through the roof, while the bugs outside are tearing through the entire forest. Back in town, one of the men hears a loud noise from where Maynard went, and Nanny says it has begun. Another man asks what started and why she did not go with the bug man, so she laughs and says she doesn't have a death wish. She tells them death follows everywhere Maynard goes when he gets serious, and the most evil high wizard in Boylate's army does not stop till there is nothing left behind. Back at the lake, Maynard asks Alicia if she hears the sound of leaves being devoured as the giant moth larvae eat the entire forest. He says they hatch after a century to eat anything and everything around them. They come from a faraway island that goes from covered in trees to barren desert every 100 years because the bugs eat only the wood, and then lay eggs and wait for the seeds to sprout a new forest to repeat the cycle 100 years later. Next, he states that his crystal allows him to speed up that cycle, so they will eat through the cabin in no time, leaving all the helpless, innocent people inside with no place to hide. That makes Alicia angry, but he also reminds her that the town's specialty was woodwork, so they are probably going to miss their forest a lot. Hearing that, Alicia furiously leaps out of the water and is surprised to see a large number of cocoons, which hatch right on time and release an army of moths. Maynard challenges her to stop them all if she thinks she is a hero, even though it is impossible since their wings release a paralyzing dust, which allows the scorpion to throw her into the air before it pierces her back with its stinger and smashes her into the ground. Then, thousands of crawlers swarm her, and Alicia drowns inside the nightmarish sea of insects. However, just as the High Wizard thinks he has won, a bright red light shines through the darkness, and a crimson sword emerges. He instantly realizes it is a regalia and wonders where she hid it the whole time as the bugs run away in fear. At that moment, Clivites tells Alicia all living things are mainly made of water, so if she thinks of the bugs as such, she can use Stream Splitter to split them apart just like a river. Hearing that, Alicia tightly grips the sword and gets into form before she activates the legendary sword and swings the bugs in a circle around her. The sword's power rips through the sea of bugs like a whirlpool and annihilates every last one, even sending the High Wizard flying. Clouds of insect juice spread out into the forest, and Nanny stares in disbelief as it even destroys the insects in town. Watching her power in action, Phil has no doubt Alicia is a hero, and Maynard still refuses to believe what happened. The crystal in his chest shatters, and Alicia points her sword at him, but seeing him refuse to give up like a stubborn brat, she whacks him so hard in the head that it knocks him out. After that, she finally collapses from exhaustion, which worries Nell and Luna, but Clem comes out of the dust carrying her. He tells Nell the situation has drastically changed, and he came to bring them back. When Alicia asks if he defeated Drell, he tells her it seems another Lord of Dark Beasts is supporting him behind the scenes. Meanwhile, the Haydn Crown Princess Toara Mort Anzeda asks about the progress of the civilian evacuation. She is told that around 80% of the people have already been moved into the underground tunnels, so she orders that the process be sped up. She then asks if any survivors have been found in the city, convinced that her child, whom she has named Hydenria VI, is still alive somewhere. An old granny approaches the crown princess and urges her to take command of the country and evacuate to a secure location. Toara refuses to flee while her son is still missing. When the old granny asks how she can be so certain he is alive, Toara explains that when she looked into the furnace sealed by the king, she saw it still glowing crimson. By tradition, when the throne is vacant, the furnace slumbers until the next king appears, but since it still burns brightly, it proves that a rightful heir exists in this world. The crown princess declares that as long as the furnace remains under their control, Haydn's dignity will endure, and she refuses to leave until her lost son is found. She regrets not evacuating him earlier, since she had already sensed this danger approaching. She laments that the current heroes are incapable of defeating the dark beasts, and the only reason her child went missing was because she was occupied with the naming ceremony that day. Just then, the military aide of the Haydn Kingdom, Fabio Felipe, returns with news about Drell's army. He explains that the Boelate forces clashed with Eslin's 6,000 guerrilla soldiers at the Morel River, but the Eslin troops were defeated. Tuara grows slightly anxious, yet Fabio continues that the worst part is what happened after the battle when Lord Clevates appeared and assaulted Drell's army, instantly taking down half of it. However, the Beast Lord was captured inside a mysterious orb created by Drell, who is still advancing toward them with 20,000 soldiers. Tuara finds it hard to believe that a mere soldier could subdue the mighty Beast Lord, yet Fabio points out that the man was a former hero who possessed a treasure. The Crown Princess refuses to call him a hero, arguing that a true hero is not someone who leads armies to invade other nations. She then orders Fabio to prepare her armor, declaring that she will take responsibility and destroy the treasure Drell possesses. She asks him to bring her the unique king's hammer, the one used to forge the treasures. The old granny warns her not to use it, saying it is meant only for the king, but Tuara insists that she will act as the king's proxy until her son ascends the throne. Her armor gets prepared, and Fabio brings her the sacred hammer. Holding it firmly, the Crown Princess prepares to face the enemy and commands that all the commanders be gathered so they can intercept Drell's advancing forces in the city. As the scene shifts, the outer main gate of Heidlart capital is destroyed, and General Drell enters with his army. Meanwhile, back in the village, Phil begins calling Alicia his big sister. Alicia protests, saying she is younger than he, but Phil cannot control his excitement over just how strong she is. He promises to handle all her errands while she is in the village and asks for her orders. Just then, Alicia and Clem get into a debate, and Nanny stands up, complaining about why she was even brought there. She argues that her knees are hurting and that listening to their discussion feels like torture. When asked why she was caught so easily, she explains that she is physically very weak, and moreover, her guards were knocked out immediately. Alicia then tells Nanny to answer truthfully because she has some questions to ask. She asks if the girl knows anything about Drell's connection to any of the lords of the dark beasts. When Nanny doesn't get it, Alicia clarifies, asking if she saw blood oozing from his body and moving on its own. The girl replies that it sounds disgusting, but Clem appears confident that Drell did use it, which is why he returned. Clem believes that Drell is merely a pawn and that they need to uncover his true motives. Alicia mentions Zavtir in the west, Laswell in the east, and Vauden in the north. But Clem argues that it could be any of them, and since they have the guts to challenge him, he will make them pay. Alicia asks why Clem left his body behind, but the beast replies that what was left wasn't his real body at all, but just a shadow fragment meant to fool others into thinking he had been defeated. This would allow him to go anywhere he pleases without being traced. He is certain that even if he had killed Drell on the spot, the one controlling him would never reveal themselves. Meanwhile, Nanny keeps trying to barge in and finally raises her voice to get attention. She complains that she hasn't understood any of what was happening, and then reveals her mission, that she was sent to retrieve the heir to the throne so the furnace could be activated. Saying this, she frees herself and uses her power to fly up into the sky. On the way, she spots Phil and her brother moving Nell with the baby. She notices that the cartwheel is made of metal and jumps onto the cart, taking down the two brothers. She then lifts the entire cart along with Nell and the child, intending to carry them directly to Heidlart. Just as she thinks she has outmaneuvered everyone, Clem appears out of nowhere, and Alicia points her sword at him. She warns him that Nanny has walked straight into their trap, which they had planned all along, and tells her to avoid any stupid moves because her sword is not made of iron. The two brothers down below feel relieved seeing their hero safely on the cart, and tell her to stay safe on the journey. The villagers also say their goodbyes, trusting their kingdom to her care. Clem mocks Alicia about calling herself a hero, and she argues that she truly saved the village this time. She insists she is the hero, but Clem points out that none of it would have been possible without him. Even Nell seems impressed, and when she looks at the little child, she admits she cannot believe she is caring for the prince and wonders aloud if it is really acceptable for her to do so. Clem asks why she feels that way, and Nell explains that her social standing is low and she feels filthy. Clem tells her that status should be determined by strength and assures her that she is several times stronger than a normal human, advising her to crush anyone who makes her feel otherwise. Another argument breaks out between the hero and Clem, but eventually, they finally arrive at the mountain. As they are about to reach the city, Clem tells her that he is going to stay hidden and will not be helping her, warning her that she should conceal all her magic blood. Alicia feels enraged, thinking about facing the man who murdered her father. As they arrive over the city, the battle is already raging, and Drell is swinging his weapon with massive destructive blows everywhere, and his eyes are making him look like some demon. Alicia spots him and tells the metal manipulator to take her there, but when she refuses, she grabs her hand and forces her down. Meanwhile, Tuara leads her soldiers into battle, strengthening their morale by telling them that they do not have ordinary bladed weapons. All of them charge at the general, but Drell deflects their attacks with a single slash of his weapon. When the king's proxy orders arrows to be shot, Drell vanishes into thin air using magic and then reappears right in front of the crown princess, grabbing her by the throat and trying to choke her. He gives her credit for being brave, but tells her that she will never be king. Tuara admits that she lacks pure royal blood, and Drell calls her a fake, arguing that only those with the purest lineage are allowed to rule. He further says that if the direct line ends, the collateral lines produce candidates, and calls it the law of the world. Tuara asks the man who he truly is, as she senses something strange about him. While being choked, she thinks of destroying his treasure, the black dragon weapon, using her hammer, hoping it would improve their chances of victory. Just then, Alicia suddenly comes flying down on the cart from above, catching Drell's attention. He asks if she is the Sword Saint's daughter, and Tuara realizes she might have a change in fortune. Alicia confirms his question and declares that she is here to avenge her father, Margot. At that moment, Tuara tries to strike, but the force of Alicia's impact sends her flying. Alicia then engages in a duel with her father's old companion and murderer. Drell asks what a weak hero like her is doing on the battlefield, and Alicia boldly replies that a hero is someone who appears when the world faces a crisis. As Alicia continues her duel with the general, Tuara wonders what exactly she is doing here and casts a glance at the king's hammer, questioning whether she managed to strike the sword with it or not. Meanwhile, Nell stands beside Clem, observing the chaos of the battle, and hesitantly asks him if it was wise to let Alicia go in all alone. Clem, however, had planned to use her as a decoy to reach the furnace hidden deep within the castle, which he believes is Drell's true objective. He brought Luna along because only he can open the forge's gate. At the same time, Fabio stands guard over the forge as the final line of defense, instructing all the soldiers to protect it at any cost. Luna's hair stirs slightly as the kid senses something when they pass near where the king's dead body lies. Clem locates the place and instructs Nell to break through the wall, as the forge is on the opposite side of it. When Nell hesitates, he explains that when he healed her, he granted her the power to protect Luna by condensing the troll's muscular strength into her thin arms. Once she gets the confidence, the girl uses all her strength and ends up sending a piece of rock flying and raining down on Fabio and the soldiers, injuring them. Fabio worries that the enemy army has already reached her, suspecting it might be a catapult, but before they can act, they sink into black mud, which is apparently caused by Clem. Clem takes Luna and Nell to the door, remembering that this is the exact spot where he first found the king and the little kid. When they reach the gate, he places Luna's hand on the pedestal, activating it, and remarks that he is about to read his fate. Meanwhile, Guard arrives at the giant sphere of blood that is sealing Clevetess. Wondering why the powerful Lord of Dark Beasts hasn't escaped it, he kicks the sphere, but it doesn't budge. Before he can use stronger attacks, he gets interrupted by Rod, who asks him to take him where Drell is with his flying magic. Gart wonders how Rod will be of use since Drell completely destroyed him, but he tells him he wants to help because he has a bad feeling. Gart feels interested, as Rod reveals that the Dark General is planning something sinister that could reshape their whole world. He remembers that his master also warned him about the same thing, and decides to take Rod to the capital as long as he helps him without asking about his plans. As Rod accepts the conditions, Gart brings out his wings and carries him away, while Rod feels shocked, thinking it's magic. While flying away, he realizes that humans don't actually know too much about magic if they think any special feat is magical. Back at the royal furnace, Clem tries putting Luna's hand on the seal, but it doesn't open. Luna decides to use the bathroom on top of the seal, so Clem hands him over to Nell for a cleanup. Since he can't break the massive door open with force, Clem decides to jump over the furnace walls. As he gets on top of the walls, Clem notices the heat is strong enough to melt any normal demon, but he jumps down unafraid. Near the door, Nell comforts the worried Luna, but both of them are horrified as a pink-haired stranger approaches them from behind. Inside the furnace, a brick falls down from the top entrance, and Clem reappears from its shadow, noting that even he would have gotten burnt to a crisp if he used his own body to go down. Knowing that it's impossible even for a beast lord like him to go inside, Clem tries thinking about a plan, but then he notices Nell unconscious outside the mysteriously open door. As Clem turns around, he is surprised to see the King of Hilden walking with both Luna and his own speaking head in his hands. Meanwhile, Alicia jumps back from an explosion, retreating over rooftops as she struggles to fight Drell. He relentlessly keeps attacking her while mocking her for fighting him, even though she hasn't reached her father's level. Alicia tries to parry another attack from Drell, but he overpowers her and sends her shooting down through a building. She struggles to stand back up after the attack, but Drell tells her she isn't worthy of being a hero before hitting her with another powerful slash. The attack sends her slamming into a beast, shocking the troops riding it. As Alicia regains her footing, she looks around to find that Drell is missing and spots him going for the royal furnace. She uses the beast as a launching pad to jump towards him, while Drell arrives at a bridge where the princess is awaiting him with her soldiers. She tries taking Drell down with a barrage of arrows, but he slashes all of the arrows into pieces before Alicia arrives and uses her dragonfly technique to reach Drell's sword. However, he easily repels the attack, revealing that he himself taught her father how to use it. Tuara screams as the attacks cut into Alicia and destroy the bridge below her. As the smoke clears, Drell feels surprised to see her still standing after all his brutal attacks. Alicia points her sword at him, wondering just what kind of relation Drell has with her father, and he tells her that both of them were brothers, trying to reach the ultimate level of swordsmanship to become heroes. He then begins telling the surprised hero the real story of why he is called the Dragon Slayer, and why her father stopped being a hero. Drell recalls the day her father challenged him in a stadium as his junior to get the legendary hero's sword. Both of them were good friends, but neither wanted to give up the honor of obtaining a regalia made after 6 years. As the referee signaled to begin the match, Drell told Margot to hold nothing back. The two of them clashed hard, but in the end, Margot defeated his teacher in a shocking upset. Drell punched the ground in frustration, regretting that he could have defeated Margot if they had fought earlier. Margot thanked him for helping him grow so much, and Drell watched in envy as he raised his sword and went on his path to become the hero instead of him. The hero knelt in front of the king, who announced his new title as the Sword Saint Hero and gifted him the family name of Glenfall. Then, he called to have his sword delivered to him. The sword-bearer solemnly asked Margot if he had the determination to protect his people, slay the 4 beast lords, and expand humanity's world. After nodding to accept his title, Margot received the regalia and drew it out from its scabbard, and it began glowing with an ominous red light. He felt impressed as he wielded the powerful weapon, but the king told him that he needed to complete its power. He explained that his sword would take the qualities and power of the first monster he slayed, since it absorbs its victims' souls to increase its power. With the king's warning to carefully choose the best first prey, Margot decided to go on an expedition to help him reach a strong monster. In a tavern, he told Drell that he wanted his first prey to be a powerful monster, since a weak demon would only weaken its power. When he revealed that he wanted to slay the Northern Dragon, Drell's eyes widened in shock as he pointed out that it's the guardian of the incredible Northern Beast Lord Vauden. Margot noticed everyone starting them, so he told the outraged Drell to calm down. Drell wondered how he planned to defeat the beast with an incomplete sword, but he explained that he needed the Northern Dragon to get the power to defeat one of the Beast Kings. Drell thought that Margot had gone insane with such a crazy dream, but as his powerful junior walked away to gather a team, He wondered if he truly had the potential after all. As he walked to follow him, he bumped into some strange hooded men with mist flowing around them. One of them wished them good luck after ringing a bell, and Drell asked Margot who they were. He explained that they were magicians who believed in legends, that their heroes would learn powerful magic that would allow them to cut through even mountains. Drell was surprised, but Margot told them they were just a bunch of creepy chemists who couldn't fight. Later, after Margot's party made their way to the dragon's snowy lair, it flew around them in front of Drell. The dragon swooped down and burned their last teammates to a crisp with its fiery breath. He told Margot to run since they were the only two left, but he pointed out that they would never get a chance to fight this dragon again if they retreated. Drell wondered how they still had a chance to win, but Margot told him that if he used his dragonfly technique to send him flying towards the dragon, he could get the chance to hit it. Drell nodded and accepted his risky plan, sending him flying towards the dragon with a powerful slash. With his powerful regalia, Margot slashed at the flying dragon's back and sent it crashing into the ground. He dashed down and cut through its tough armor, making the beast bleed, but the dragon got up and kept fighting even with its injuries. Drell watched in awe as the battle went on, his junior growing stronger and stronger with each move. Just as Drell thought his insane friend could actually slay the weakened dragon as he ran towards it with his dragonfly technique, he suddenly tripped on a stone on his final attack, which gave the dragon the chance to cut off his foot. Knowing his journey was over, Margot threw his regalia to Drell before getting crushed under the dragon's foot. His friend's tragic failure filled Drell with incredible rage, and he charged at the dragon with his regalia in his hands, taking off its head in one final slash. As his adrenaline wore off, Drell turned around in joy to tell Margot about their victory, but suddenly, his sword absorbed the soul of the powerful dragon. Drell struggled to hold his sword as it drained the dragon's body of its endless mana, before suddenly, he stopped moving, as he felt a dominating presence behind him. Drell fell shocked as the massive three-eyed dragon noticed the weapon in his hands before its suffocating aura sent him into unconsciousness. He later woke up with the sword in his hands, covered in his blood, with the dragon's footprint around his body. Despite the fear in his heart, Drell wondered why they were trying so hard to become heroes. Afterward, a rescue party saved him and Margot. Drell tells Alicia that after that event, he received the title of Dragon Slayer, while her father barely survived. He reveals to her that the kings of Haydn covered up some hidden truths from them and left them with the impossible paths of becoming a hero. As the princess feels shocked, Alicia asks if he's talking about magic, and he nods, saying that the kings have hidden the secrets of magic inside the royal furnace. After explaining that the voice in his head is telling the truth, he warns her to stop interfering with his plans. His body glows red as he uses his sword to summon the skeleton of the dead northern dragon. Tuara is stunned that he knows ancient necromancy, as Drell uses his sword to swipe down on Alicia and send her flying. Drell waits for a bit before getting on top of his dragon and flying towards the royal furnace. Down in the broken remains of the wall, Alicia crawls outside, noticing a broken hand and leg. She struggles as her limbs move and painfully reattach themselves, wondering when she'll stop experiencing this torture. Then she tries communicating with Clem to tell him the reality of Drell's real master. Inside the royal furnace, Clem receives her call, but tells her not to disturb him since he is watching something interesting. Looking at the headless king, he wonders why he's preparing to throw his own grandson into the furnace's flames. Outside, Alicia makes her way to the furnace, asking why the king would do such a thing. Tuara comes to check on her, saying that she's relieved she could meet one of the legendary heroes. She asks if Alicia's partners have returned, and Alicia tells her that Clevetess slayed them all. Tuara still feels hopeful since she can help her deal with Drell. Alicia agrees to help her, but then reveals that her son is still alive. Tuara shakes with emotion and asks where he is, and Alicia informs her that he's at the royal furnace, before turning to leave. Tuara stops her, wanting to go as well, but Alicia refuses, saying it's too dangerous. She reminds her that nowhere is safe currently, and she'll do anything to see her son again, so Alicia finally agrees. Back in the furnace, Clem watches as the king holds up baby Luna. He speaks and offers to sacrifice the baby to the furnace, which creaks as it opens up its scorching hot chambers. As the king steps forward to throw the baby, Clem stops him, reminding him that he's literally throwing his grandson into the flames. He asks if he's even related to the baby, but the king confirms that he's his real grandson. Clen then wonders if it's normal among humans to dispose of their children like this, but he tells him that it's not. The king reveals that the furnace is controlling his body to turn his baby into ash, after which it will rebirth his body to make him the king. He explains that their royal family gives their babies a true name and writes them on the furnace, which puts them under its control. He says that since the baby's real name, Tot, is not written on the furnace, he needs to help him obey its command. Clen realizes that the king can live without his head because his body was reconstructed in the furnace. The king tells him that Luna's father was too scared of the furnace's call and ended his own life, so he won't let his son escape his destiny this time. He drops the baby into the furnace, saying that the legend of the heroes will die out while the kings get reborn. Clen silently watches the scene, while outside, Drell receives orders from his voice to obtain the secrets of the furnace and destroy the world. Below him, Alicia carries the struggling princess as she makes her way towards the furnace. Tuara tells her about her husband's final words, who told him that there were no more heroes with the power to defeat the Demon King. After learning this, she researched the legends of the heroes and found out that there is no evidence that a hero ever defeated a Demon King. She wonders where this legend came from and why the king kept sending heroes on adventures he knew were doomed to end in tragedy. She tells Alicia that she won't let her son become such a cruel king, who tells her that even if the legend is fake, she'll still continue trying to defeat the demon lords. In her eyes, the human race will never be satisfied with being caged, so they will continue fighting against their destiny. She says that she would defeat Drell because he's a coward who couldn't cope with reality, even if he never slew her father. Tuara praises her strength, but Alicia tells her that she won't stop trying even though she's weaker than her foes, because she met someone terrifying who never let her give up. The terrifying Clevetesse watches the king with a smile, taunting him that his baby didn't get reborn. The king turns around to see him holding Luna in his arms, revealing that he protected his true body with a shadow. Clen asks, what will happen to the king since he failed to obey the furnace's command, warning him that a puppet can't harm him. The king falls down and burns up in the furnace, which roars in anger as it tries to burn him and Luna. He easily blocks the flames with his shadows, telling the furnace to give up since its bright light is only giving him more shadows to work in. This angers the Furnace Lord even more, and it bubbles up furiously and explodes, destroying the exterior of the furnace. Both Drell and Tuara get shocked watching this scene, as the voice tells Drell to hurry up and drive the wedge into the furnace. As Tuara cries for her son, Alicia gets ready to bring him back to safety. She feels confident that Luna is safe with Clen, but thinks that Drell could ruin everything. Alicia feels shocked as she watches Drell's dragon reach the furnace, but suddenly a bird flies past her, out of which Rod drops down and shoots his ice spear straight into the dragon's body. Gart watches the scene from the sky as the dragon crashes down. Rod wonders if he defeated Drell, but finds him unharmed after the smoke clears. He knocks Rod into the sky and prepares to finish him off, but Alicia attacks him from the side. Drell gets up again to face the two heroes, who introduce each other and decide to team up. Drell draws another sword from its scabbard, mocking them for thinking that they can defeat him if they just combine their powers. He recognizes that they're elite soldiers, but confidently tells them that no human can threaten him, no matter how strong they become. As his other eyes open, a draconic aura surrounds Drell, who instantly appears behind Rod. Alicia tries warning him, but his attack creates a massive force that blows both of them away. Both heroes struggle to stand up, but Drell gives them no chance as he attacks again. He pierces through Alicia's chest and easily dodges Rod's attack. Both heroes stagger as they stand, and Alicia tells Rod to make ice. He nods and shoots a spear of ice towards Drell, who easily dodges it, but is surprised to see Alicia standing on it. Rod then creates another giant block of ice for her, and Alicia uses her Shoryu technique to launch off the ice and slice through Drell like a fish. As half of Drell's body falls away, he praises her for her technique, but he suddenly disappears in a fog of blood and attacks before she can react. Rod catches her, watching horrified as Drell revives from the blood. He transforms into a half-dragon body, pointing out that humans cannot overcome their body's limitations, no matter how hard they train. He thinks that the human race is inferior because they always rely on external tools to fight and use magic. Rod gets shocked as Drell tells him that the real human race used to rule the world, but left them with fake legends just to enjoy watching them struggle. He launches a fire blast towards him, saying that they need to erase all legends to break out of their curse. Rod struggles to defend himself as Drell keeps talking, while both Alicia and Clen get an idea from his story about why they're launching so many wars. Clem wonders what these true humans were like, thinking that they must have disappeared even before he became a demon king. He feels frustrated that the oldest demon king, Zavtir, hid all these secrets from him before looking into the furnace. Clem finds its molten flames vanished with a glowing book in their place. He reads the book's name, called Book of Tor, containing all the legends of the heroes inside the furnace's deepest part. He realizes that the book itself is the spirit of the Furnace Lord, having some sort of magic power to control all the kings and resurrect them in its tiny form. He thinks about how such a small book was causing humans to keep sending their heroes to fight in vain, and it almost caused him to go mad and wipe out the entire human race. As baby Luna opens his eyes, he watches him laughing in madness. Clem calms down, thinking about just how meaningless their entire war has been over false legends. He realizes that even though he never had the memories of the demon lords before him, he just became the demon lord with the duty to protect his territory because he believed in a simple story. Knowing that this entire journey was meaningless, Clem wonders why he was dragging Luna around with him and sets the baby down on the ground. As he cries and reaches out to him, Clem walks away, saying that he'll let the human race live, but he has no reason to solve the book's mystery. As Luna cries loudly, Clem decides to return to his mountain, snapping his fingers and letting the exposed book fall to the ground.